The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. In that studio, Assemblyman Phil Palmesano. Phil, before we go on here with you, I've got some comments that I have to read. You know how this works. So here we go. Question for, we'll wait for that one. That one actually is for you. Good morning, Frank and company. Well, good morning. On the BC ostriches, we actually talked about this in the 6 o'clock hour. We were getting a lot of response. Katie and Karen were arrested and now are at home. The police and CFIA had said that they would feed the ostriches, get them to a remote area, then arrest them. The CFIA has set up a staging area for the massacre on a provincial sand out. That's where they took the ladies to where they arrested them. A truck from Illinois brought in the hay bales to corral the birds and hide the call from the people. Great analogy. The ostriches represent the Canadians who've had their heads in the sand. Well, thank you so much for that. Thank you for bringing that story to our attention. We followed it. We have been following it, and we brought it up on the very top of the 6 o'clock hour this morning. Coming from a different viewer, Trump's speech at the UN was okay. He covered a lot of ground to a packed room, that's for sure. And finally, Ken writes in, there isn't a coincidental world that would have included a suggestion from the UN staff saying that they would shut down the escalators when Trump approached to make him walk the stairs, and then the exact thing happened just as he and Melania stepped on. Obviously, someone was ready at the switch to shut down the power when told to. This wasn't just a staff member, it was a coordinated effort, just like the teleprompter was. The UN has long disliked America, and now they especially dislike Trump's America. Thank you, Ken. Now it's to New York State issues. Phil, how's everything going?
Good, Frank. How's
the world tour going?
The tour's been interesting, to say the least.
I hear it's very reminiscent of Guns N' Roses back in the day. Is that right?
Not as big of a crowd.
Okay. Well, I got you down a little bit on the camera. Let me move that camera a little bit, Phil. Sorry. But I've heard great things. Joe Semplinsky was in on the program. You and I have talked, and I've been receiving the press releases. It's been a success, wouldn't you say?
I think so.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do, the whole goal of this tour, I went to our leaders saying, I think we need to try to get more attention on the issue. And we've been doing a lot, but just it really kind of in coordination with the draft energy plan and hearings that have been taking place for the viewers, the NYSERDA and the state put out a draft energy plan, which is supposed to be their plan for the next 15 years. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, the plan actually says some of the right things. It talks about an all of the above approach. It talks about the need for natural gas. It talks about looking at nuclear. It talks about fuel diversity. It talks about the important buzzwords of affordability and reliability. My problem is, and other problems is, the actions and the policies coming out of Albany aren't matching the words.
Right.
So I decided, I thought it was important to do this tour, and what we've been doing is holding a press conference before each public hearing. So we started in Buffalo and Rochester week 1. The following week we were in Albany. And last week I was at the Hudson Valley down in Poughkeepsie, and then down in New York City and Brooklyn. Next week is in Long Island. And listen, I appreciate the public hearings and the public comment period, but what we've been doing and been advocating for on top of it is the need for 4 additional hearings, because you heard the municipalities I mentioned. Mm-hmm. There's no Southern Tier hearing. Right. There's no North Country hearing. There's no Central New York hearing or Mohawk Valley hearing. And just think about it from this perspective. The North Country with Fort Drum and Alcoa. Southern Tier with Corning and Lockheed Martin, just to name a couple. Central New York, you got Micron, the big Micron project, which is going to be a huge energy demand user. Plus, it's the central hub of our nuclear fleet. And then the Mohawk Valley with the big Chobani expansion taking place there. We believe those communities, the families, the small businesses, deserve the opportunity to come voice their concerns and input on the energy plan and how the energy policies being advanced are affecting them. It's the right thing to do. We've been calling for that. I mention it at every public hearing because I also go to the public hearings. Right. You get 2 minutes. I rehash that point, and each hearing I kind of bring up a different point. I talk about the hearings and the need to extend the public comment period additional 90 days, because right now it ends October 6th. That's not nearly enough time given the far-reaching impact of this plan and the policies being advanced. So I talked about that. I talked about one period. I talked about affordability. Talked about reliability. I've talked about. I'm
trying to think because
land use.
So many press releases.
Yeah, I've talked about land use. I've talked about fuel diversity and the overall impact of what's going on with the policies. So just a little bit at each one, and then I kind of rehash it at each one. But really at the press conference is what I'm seeing is the policies, like I said, aren't matching the words. And in my opinion, listen, you don't need these hearings or press conferences to realize this. residents are hurt. You see the constant utility rate increases being proposed by the utilities, whether it's National Grid, NYSEG, whoever it is. And Governor Hochul is real quick to point the finger at NYSEG. And listen, I'm not supporting these rate increases, but what she's failing to acknowledge, what she's failing to take responsibility for, it's her policies that are driving up these rate increases across the board.
She found the scapegoat, right? I mean, because you blame big business. Who's sending you the bill in the mail?
Yes.
It's NYSEG. It's not Governor Hochul. But and the fact of the matter is, it is kind of Governor Hochul in the long run.
Yeah, it is. Well, and they're the part of the bill, and for the viewer, I mean, there's three. Most people don't look at their entire bill; they look at the total bill and how it's going up. And I get that. There's three parts to your bill. There's the supply side. That's like a pass through. The utility goes out and buys the energy at the market, and they just pass through. They make no profit on it. The other part that they go for the rate increase that you're hearing about is on the delivery portion. That's for the wires, that's for the poles, that's for the substations, infrastructure improvements that they need to upgrade to meet these mandates. And the other part is your taxes, fees, and assessments. The approximate breakdown is about 30 to 35% delivery, 45% supply, and 20 to 25%, they fluctuate by taxes, fees, and assessment. Now, the taxes, fees, and assessments, that also has these green energy charges that you're paying because it's the system's benefit charge. These go to pay for a lot of these green energy programs, so that's a part of your bill. And also on the supply side, that a lot of people don't realize, and they say it's it's a pass-through, but because they're forced to go out and buy renewable energy credits, because they're forced to go out and buy these zero emission credits for these green energy programs, that's being subsidized in the supply side. So they're getting hit from all three sides as part of the utility bill, and I understand it. But again, Governor Hochul doesn't want to take responsibility for that.
Of course not.
And then
she's up for re-election
and
next
then
year.
their plans that they're advancing are counter to what the energy plan is talking about. It's the fact of the matter at the end of the day, affordable, because of these green mandates, affordable, reliable, feasible, fuel diversity, energy choice are not part of the discussion or the priority for this administration or the Democrats in Albany. And people want natural gas, and there's a poll. Our Congressman Nick Langworth's got a bill, Energy Choice Act, which I've joined him for 2 press conferences in the Elmira area over the past 6 months because it's an important issue.
Right.
And for the viewers, there's a poll out there that really drives this message home. 71% of New Yorkers do not want a ban on natural gas. That's what this poll this summer said, including 74% or 76% of independents. That same poll said that 2/3 of New Yorkers want a balance between renewable resources and natural gas, including 74% of Democrats. So the message is clear. New Yorkers want energy choice. Right. Unfortunately, I'm convinced the Democrats, their policy is really this march to full electrification. By 2040, we're supposed to be net zero generation. So they want to totally electrify the grid without bringing in reliable resources to fill the gap in any time soon. And my opinion, really, their plan is designed to totally dismantle the affordable and reliable natural gas infrastructure, supply, and delivery system, despite the fact that 60% of New Yorkers heat their homes with natural gas, despite the fact that 40% of our electricity generation comes from natural gas. Their plan is really, intention is to totally take away consumer choice on how you heat your home, how you cook your food, how you power your building, and the vehicle you drive. They want people to have electric heat pumps and electric vehicles. If you want an electric heat pump and an electric vehicle, God bless you. But don't make everyone else do it, especially to jeopardize. So these policies, what they will do is they will jeopardize the reliability of the grid, leading to dangerous and deadly blackouts. Remember the storm up in Buffalo a couple years after the whole grid was full?
We've talked about it so often on the program, Phil, you and I, but we get some bad winters.
Yes, we do.
And we get some bad weather, and heaven forbid if we have the grid go down, so you're freezing to death in your home, and you can't cook. Right. What are we going to do? I mean, it is going to lead to the loss of life.
Yep, and it would have been much more deadly in Buffalo if they would have been fully electrified up there. And so this will continue our nation-leading out-migration of more families, farmers, small businesses, and manufacturers leaving the state. Because if you think about the business community, they care about 2 things when it comes to energy policy: affordable and reliable. If they can't get affordable and reliable energy in New York, they will leave and go elsewhere to get it. And just like they already are. And when you talk about the winter season, The NISO, which is tasked with keeping the power and the lights on, they study the grid to make sure that it's a reliable resources in place. And they're already talking about reliability gaps, which I'll talk about in a minute. They're saying the peak energy demand is going to switch from the summer season to the winter season in the next 10 to 15 years too. Yeah. So that's very problematic with electric heat pumps, with electric refining grid. And I guess the other thing with the Democrats' policy, I think really what their policy amounts to is they say asking New Yorkers for a blank check with no questions asked, because there's never a cost benefit analysis. Really what they did with this policy, they gave the activists everything they wanted instead of giving New York common sense energy policy that they needed, like affordable and reliable and feasible energy.
And they didn't even look at, I mean, it was all about the virtue signaling.
It was all about virtue signaling.
Agree with that side. And I think why you see Hochul kind of embracing a little bit nuclear and these different ideas is, again, it's politics at the end of the day. She's worried about next year.
Yes.
So I don't take some of these conversations we're having necessarily seriously when Hochul is saying those type of things. I hope I'm wrong, but it all at the end of the day seems to me like, look, I'm doing something like bail reform, right? You know, I'm changing, I'm tweaking. Nothing's done. The same with this.
I mean, she uses the word affordable in every press statement. Her energy press person says, well, if she's pushing for affordability, nonsense. Not the policies that she's advancing. I mean, you can go down the pipeline of all her policies from the, you have the All Electric Buildings Act that takes place in January of this coming year. Any new building construction for homeowners has to be electric. I mean, there's been a constant assault on natural gas. And natural gas is supposed to be referred to as a bridge fuel, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, you don't tear down a bridge before you build a new one.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what they want to do and are doing with our energy grid, this march to full electrification. And when you talk about the reliability side of it, the NISO, I know I'm bouncing around here, but it's important. The NISO said what we need by 2040 to meet this net zero generation, we need 27 to 45 gigawatts of dispatchable emission-free resources. Now, for the viewer, a gigawatt is the equivalent of powering 750,000 homes. In New York, our total generating capacity in New York right now is 41 gigawatts. That's wind, solar, hydro, nuclear, and natural gas and oil. Those make up 41 gigawatts. Right. They're saying we need 27 to 45 gigawatts of dispatchable emission-free resources. They do not know what the technology is yet. Now, the wind and solar advocates, it doesn't count in that 27 to 45 because it's not dispatchable, it's not reliable.
Right.
So we don't know. Is it going to be advanced nuclear? And I fully support nuclear being a part of the equation. It needs to be. It
has to be.
I mean, the biggest mistake we made in New York is when, for virtual signaling for political purposes, they shut down Indian Point down in downstate, which provided 25% of the power to New York City. And once they did that, their fossil fuel generation went from under 70% to over 90%. And even though upstate, our fuel generation is over 90% emission free. So I think that those types of policies are happening, and I think you look at it time and time again, and that's where my concerns come into play with the policies that are being implemented. It's really been like a knee-jerk reaction to this full electrification of the grid.
Right.
And it was never going to work, not financially, not realistically. And when you to shut down reliable sources of power, because you is really is a recipe for disaster. And you see it happening right now with the policies, and really there is a hostility towards natural gas. It started with the ban on fracking, then you see it with pipeline denials, and now there's a big pipeline discussion going on down in New York City, Long Island, for the Nestle pipeline. That the PSC just approved their long-term plan. There's talk, was this a deal between Governor Hochul and the president? Well, we need this pipeline if you want reliable natural gas coming into the city. You might remember back in 2019 or 2018 when Governor Cuomo was there, the state denied the water permit for the Nestle pipeline, the same one that's being re-reviewed now. Right. So National Grid said we don't have the supply to provide the gas for new customers. Cuomo threatened their license, because he was a bully. Right. So what was their answer to that? Trucking 240 diesel trucks of gas, CNG trucks into the city every single day, and injecting them into the system there. That's not safe. That's not a long-term viable solution. So we need to do that. And you can look at the plan over and over. So you got fracking, you got pipeline denials, you got air permit denials for new natural gas power plants, and for existing renewable natural gas power plants. So you have Greenwich up in Yates County, which provides important power. That was denied a renewal for different reasons, political reasons. So you have the CLCPA, the Green New Deal that we passed in 2019, which set the stage for all of this. You have the Electric Buildings Act, like I said, that takes effect this year. That, again, you can't build new construction with it. You have the cap and invest, which was also passed as part of the budget. And on the cap and invest, and I'll talk about costs in a minute, that was passed as part of the budget. You have all electric vehicles. You have the ACT regulation, which they call the Advanced Clean Truck Rule, which will devastate the trucking industry in New York State, because how that works for the viewer is that for every 6 ICE vehicles, like internal combustion engine vehicles for the trucks, you'd have to purchase 1 electric truck.
Okay.
And they don't work. There's no market for them.
No.
And here's the other thing. Even during the budget hearings, the Thruway Commissioner, there's not one heavy-duty charging charging station on the Thruway.
No.
The whole Thruway. And in his testimony this year, he said, "Well, we're working with the NISO, we're working with the utilities. Shouldn't have you done that before you spent $500 million upgrading all the rest stops? I mean, where is that consideration?" And that the fact of the matter is, 300,000 New Yorkers work in the trucking industry in New York.
Yeah.
96% of our goods are shipped via truck. And just from a logistical perspective, a tractor trailer can go 1,800 to 2,000 miles on a full tank of diesel.
Right.
They can go about 400 miles on an electric vehicle. And then when they do the diesel, it takes them 20 minutes to refill.
Right.
It takes them 4 hours to charge up on the other side. Where's the economics of this discussion other than just being clean?
And 400 miles is nothing
No.
if you're a truck driver.
No, and that will decimate the economics of the business.
Right.
But it's going to drive up prices, and you're not going to, because they say what we need to do for emissions because of diesel emissions. You're not going to change diesel emissions in New York. What you will do with this policy is you would drive out the truck industry in New York, but you're not in New Jersey, not in Ohio, not in Pennsylvania. Those trucking companies will be the ones shipping the lumber, the food down to the city
This
to
is what
get to
always
the residents.
happens.
It's going to increase prices. I mean, the Governor Hochul says we have a housing affordability crisis. This is going to increase the prices of lumber and housing costs that have to be shipped across the state. And you're still going to have those tractor trailers coming through your communities because it's needed, and because I believe there's also interstate commerce cause problems with that. But it's one thing after the other, and you can just
It's just like the EV buses with schools. I mean, we've talked about it so much ad nauseum, but really, we're not there yet. We're not ready. Can't we just all take a breather? I know you've said it in the past, and as you said at the beginning, the polls show that the New Yorkers are reasonable. They just want an all of the above approach, and right now, again, I think just in the name of virtue signaling, we're pushing these just horrible agenda that's going to cost us a fortune and cost us business and lose us more residents.
Yeah, and when you mentioned the EV school bus, I mean, that's, in my opinion, I've referred to that as the mother of all unfunded mandates. Yeah. Beginning in 2027, every school district has to begin purchasing, every new replacement has to be an electric school bus. Now they put in place you can apply for a 2-year waiver from the state education department on a case-by-case basis. Now in the budget this year, there is another opportunity to extend it another 2 years for NYSERDA, but why are we making them jump through the hoops? Why not just give the outright extension? But the cost for these things alone are significant. The cost of a electric school bus is about $400,000 to $450,000 versus a near zero emission diesel school bus, $125,000 to $150,000. The Empire Center did a study, said just in replacement costs alone, it would cost $8 to $15 billion. Right. That doesn't include the billions of dollars in charging infrastructure improvements that have to be made at the school districts. And it also doesn't include some of the electrical improvements that are going to have to be made by the school districts on their own property to bring the power from the grid. When we had a press conference with school superintendents, Shenandoah School District said it was going to cost them $30 million just to improve the power to bring it in the grid. Totally borne by the property taxpayers, not spread out over all ratepayers.
Won't that have to be voted on in the school budgets? Because no one in their right mind is going to vote on that.
Yeah, I mean, you see the electric school bus budgets being vetoed and turned over one after the other, and they're going to continue to do so. My fear is ultimately the state of New York is going to take the right to vote on school buses away. I think that's what's going to happen. And
there's no other option.
There's no other option because they're not going to pass otherwise, and there's very, very problematic. But you can go through the costs. I mean, you have another proposal like the HEAT Act that would basically empower the PSC to go into a neighborhood and totally decommission natural gas to that neighborhood. Right. Then what's the option other than to fully electrify your home? They have this 100-foot rule that passed both houses. Now, they refer to that as a subsidy. It's going to save $100 to $200 million. How that works is, say there's a new building construction or someone wants to convert to natural gas. That first 100-foot connection is subsidized by everybody. It is. It's a subsidy. But at the end of the day, it's paid back and it saves cost because now when you have more users on the system, you're sharing in the cost for the capital and operating expenses of running that system. So it's actually a benefit to the existing customers, not a detriment. And I love how they say, well, 100 to 200 million dollars we're going to save, but they don't blink an eye at the total cost of this estimate plan. The comptroller, or even their own climate action council plan, said just in costs we're looking at over $250 billion, $250 billion. And Governor Hochul's quick to blame the utilities when there's a utility rate increase to the PSC. Where was Governor Hochul in July of 2023 when the PSC approved a $43 billion rate increase for future green energy mandates that they specifically said had to be done for this purpose? Where was Governor Hochul when her former DEC commissioner, co-chair of the Climate Action Council, when the Cap and Invest plan said implementing the Cap and Invest, which is going to be fees assigned to fossil fuel users, generators, and things and the like, it will increase prices at the pump for New Yorkers by 62 cents a gallon and will increase natural gas home heating costs by 80%. That's on top of what's going on now before it's even implemented. That's what we have to implement it. That's what it's going to cost. And where's Governor Hochul to convert your home over from natural gas to full electrification? Is estimates from 3 different studies saying $35,000 to $50,000 plus. Tell me what senior citizen listening at home, watching at home, what disabled veteran on a fixed income can afford that and would even want that? Doesn't make any sense to me.
No, even working family. I mean, anybody doesn't have
anybody.
That.
And to tell you where we were, I mean, we see the electricity prices. The residential cost of electricity rate in 2019 before you passed the CLCP was 17 cents per kilowatt hour. Today it's 25 cents per kilowatt hour. That's 40% higher than the national average. This is unsustainable. So they can talk all they want about affordability. Unfortunately, the policies they continue to advance, the policies they continue to implement, the policies they continue to pass, the virtual signal to a radical environmental agenda that will do nothing. Let me tell you, we can do all this, and it's not going to make an impact on global emissions. Why? Because New York State only contributes 0.4% of total global emissions. 0.4. China contributes 30%, has 1,000 coal plants, and building more each and every week. And if you want to throw India and Russia on there, it's 40%.
Wow.
And just to give you a perspective on China, last year, China expanded their coal generating capacity. And you remember I said 1 gigawatt is 750,000. Our total generating capacity in New York is 41 gigawatts. China expanded just their coal capacity last year by 95 gigawatts, doubling our total generating capacity of everything. So they're not on our side. And even I remember Joe Biden once said, and I disagree with him, probably almost everything except this thing. He said, if China's not with us, we're wasting our time.
Right.
I agree with Joe.
We're wasting our time.
China's not with us, we are wasting our time. Exactly. So we can try to get down to zero. We can get to zero, but we're not going to impact global emissions. But what will we do? We will dismantle our entire economy. We will hurt businesses. We will hurt families and manufacturers, and we will continue the nation-leading out-migration of all the families, farmers, small businesses, and manufacturers leaving our state. And that's what I'm very concerned about. So I can go down the whole list of it.
I know. And we got a lot of questions, but we got to take a break. We're running a little bit late. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking. That's our beautiful roof cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. In that studio, Assemblyman Phil Palmesano. We got a lot of questions for you, Phil. Sure. First, this is a comment about the ostrich story. They were charged, the two that were arrested, with breaking the Animal Health Act and obstructing police. Thank you very much. All right. Question for Phil. This came in the 6 o'clock hour. They should be first in line. If Elise Stefanik runs and wins the governor's race, can she undo all the harm the Democrats have done? For example, can the anti-natural gas plan be repealed and instantly stopped dead, etc.? I don't think everything can, right?
It might be hard to do some of it, but the thing is, she will appoint a DEC commissioner, and the DEC has a lot of jurisdiction on a lot of the policies that are being implemented, especially Cap and Invest. But she's going to have to do some things through the legislature, which I think she needs to do, is included part of her budget. That's where she has the most degree. She would have the most degree of leverage as part of her budget. Right. And other governors have done it. She should definitely do it. I would highly encourage you to do it. Two of the areas obviously are Cap and Invest, which I just told you. Mm-hmm. If that goes through unchecked and advances, it's going to increase prices at the pump for New Yorkers by 62 cents a gallon and increase natural gas home heating costs by 80%. Right now, the PSC, she can press on the PSC under the CLCPA there's an ability to have an off-ramp to slow down implementation of it if there's a threat to safety and reliability. Well, I believe 100% right now there's a threat to safety and reliability. Why? Because the NISO, again, which is tasked with charging, making sure the lights stay on, the power stays on, has signaled short-term and long-term reliability gaps in the system. I told you the long-term reliability gaps of 27 to 45 gigawatts needing dispatchable industry resources. That's not in place. We shouldn't be advancing at breakneck speed down these tracks with the public not knowing until the new technology is in place and working. So again, like I said, natural gas is a bridge. Don't tear down the bridge before you build one. So those are some things she could do. There are some things in the law like the electric vehicle building purchases come 2035. But she might, especially help on the regulations, and that's where our big concerns are. They're trying to advance some of this stuff via regulation quicker than the law. Like the ACT regulation and Advanced Clean Car Rule, which would mandate a certain percentage of vehicles be electric in 2025 too. So that's why she would be very helpful in those areas. But we'd have to work, and she'd have to use the power of the budget to advance policy. That would be my advice to her.
Okay, because we got to take another break already because we ran late in the other one. But I think these are just basically comments. So I want to read those, and then we'll get to some more questions.
Sure.
Ken writes, in the political world would look a lot different if politicians and their families were not allowed to hold investments in anything that they write laws or policies for. I would bet that the Democrats and their benefactors in New York are heavily invested in renewable energy. The only good part of that equation is that they are now somewhat embracing nuclear. They're obviously not invested in fossil fuels, that's for sure. Comment from a different viewer, I hope Phil has a lot of help with stopping the assault on natural gas. With the left are the foxes running the government henhouse with their virtue signals instead of common sense. How does common sense stand a chance? The blowing up of 7 windmills a few weeks ago, where are they going to put the toxic blades from them? Has there been a study done on windmills to see if they actually offset their own costs? I wonder if they do, because they're expensive, especially after the fact of disposing of them. Finally, Phil, the expansion of the new apartment complexes and the new housing is a huge boom all over the South for people fleeing to Republican state. A lot of people leaving New York, it's because of necessity, not just warm weather. That's such short-sightedness of the Democrat-controlled state of New York. I don't think they'll ever have a smack themselves in the forehead realization of anything that they've done to destroy New York. Thank you for those comments. Keep them coming in. Your questions coming in. We'll be right back after this. Stay with us. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. In that studio, Assemblyman Phil Palmesano. Comment from Mark. Mark says, Phil, it was very nice meeting you at the Dwayne Eddy Memorial. Yes. I think you talked with Mark. I did too. I got to meet Mark. On the other hand, I can't see how the people in New York State are going to afford getting rid of gas appliances and switch to electric ones. I certainly can't afford it. I think even if you could afford it, is that where you want to go with your money?
You should have the choice. If you want a gas stove, you should have a gas stove. If you want an electric stove, you have to have an electric stove. You shouldn't be forced to do it.
All right. Quick question on this one. This is kind of almost a yes or no. Phil, does Sliwa have a chance to save New York City from socialism? State-run grocery stores, that's just another way to lord over and therefore control the masses. Where do all these crazy people come from? That's an interesting race. Your co-worker, is that the right word?
My co-worker, yes, he is.
Mama Donnie, who's very rarely in Albany, clearly.
Yep.
The polls are showing he's probably got it.
Sounds like he's running away with it. That's amazing
Cuomo
to me.
didn't do us any favors. Not that I wanted Cuomo to win. I'm just saying he was so cocky at the beginning, didn't have to campaign, and now he's playing catch up.
He felt like he was entitled. He thought he was going to walk right into it, and he's not.
I know it. Well, there we go. There's our questions. But the energy tour is going good. The hearings, what have they been like?
The hearings have been. I mean, I don't stay for the entire hearing because they let us. How
many people are they getting?
They're getting crowds. I've gone. I've been there at the beginning, so there are people testifying. And if I'm talking to the staff there, I know the staff because they've seen me. I always say I'll see you tomorrow night. As I travel around the state, they said they've been sometimes an hour and a half, 2 hour meetings. So people come in, and really it's not a discussion with the energy board. It's just allowing for comments, and so it's not a back and forth. And people are talking for their time, and they get 2 minutes. So I'm usually.
How do you only do 2 minutes?
It's a challenge, but I'll tell you, they are very impressed with me that I can do it in 2 minutes.
Yeah, I am.
And because one of
my
you're
so passionate about it, it must drive you crazy when it's over. It's thinking how much you couldn't fit in that 2 minutes, right?
Well, the way I worked it is I looked at it. There's been 7 of them, I think, so there's 14 minutes at least. But I just break it down to 2 minutes to each one, and just hit on a different topic that I talk about on a regular basis, and just kind of reiterating the point that again we're calling. I talked to the governor's office personally last week. I said, you need to have 4 additional hearings. How can you ignore those 4 locations, those regions? Those people deserve to have a voice. And I'm like, let the governor come out and do it, because we wrote both the Senate and Assembly Republican Conference wrote a letter to the governor and President Harris saying have these 4 additional hearings and extend the public comment by 90 additional days. And I said to her staff, let the governor come out and say, hey, I'm asking for these. Let her take credit.
Yeah.
I don't care. But these people deserve to have these hearings. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. But yeah, I bring up the points. The last one otherwise on the schedule is Long Island on Monday. I'm heading down there
Monday.
Monday.
They couldn't be bothered to put one somewhat in driving distance for us.
Yeah, I mean, because think about it. If you're in Corning, you would have to go to Rochester.
Right.
Or Buffalo.
Yeah. Really,
because or Albany. Those are the closest ones to you. Someone from Binghamton has to go 2 hours to Albany, or 3 hours to Rochester.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Fair.
We're down to the Hudson Valley. It doesn't make sense.
No, I do want to mention, and then we're going to change up topics here, Phil, because we got a lot to talk about.
Sure.
But I did see that the public hearings, they've set dates, and this is for NYSEG and the proposed rate hikes. I don't know if you saw that on Empire Report this morning. Just so people know, and I'll read these later on in a future broadcast, but probably the closest to us, two close to us, Binghamton on October 7th from 1 to 6 p.m., 1 and 6 p.m., excuse me, at the Binghamton City Hall, and then there's going to be a NYSEG one in Ithaca at 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. on the 8th. Okay, so what did you think when you heard some of the halt recommendations that came out this week, right?
Yeah, I saw the report come out, and two things that caught my eyes. One, it was unanimously approved by the members of the committee, which included NYSCOBA, which included the public employees unions, who are those individuals working inside our correctional facilities, both state and local. And the fact that they came out in support of it, I think was a positive sign. I mean, listen, one thing we know since the implementation of HALT's been an absolute disaster, a dangerous disaster. And we know changes needed to be made. Like, I still fully support and believe a full repeal is needed. But all you have to do is look at for the viewers, look at the statistics. Since HALT was implemented 3 years ago, inmate on staff assaults are up over 76% to a record high of over 2,000 assaults in a year. But even more staggering, because a lot of these individuals care about the inmates, inmate on inmate assaults are up over 169% during that same period, to up nearly 3,000. And the same thing with contraband seizures is up over 32% to a record high of 4,700 seizures. I mean, so those signs right there show that HALT is a failure, not working. My colleagues, the Democrats, always want to ignore those stats. They even say they're not true. I go, they're from the Department of Corrections. They're not Phil Palmesano's number. They're the department's numbers, and they don't believe it. And even in one meeting, they even blamed the corrections officers for bringing the drugs into prison.
I remember that. I watched that.
It was
outrageous, and it was
outrageous,
so
and
disrespectful.
But so I believe there should be a full repeal. But the fact of the matter is, this took some good steps. The fact that they had NYSCOBA part of the discussion, because they were never part of the discussion on the HALT or some of these policies. The fact that they had a public employees union who are part of the employees working there, whether the corrections officer or civil, I think that's important. So there were some changes made as far as being able to segregate people through segregated confinement, through some of the policies for expanded opportunities. I think that's a positive thing. It's not a solution, but in my opinion, I think I said in my statement, this is a step in the right direction, and doing something is better than doing nothing.
Comment from a viewer: with all due respect, why is Curtis Sliwa being ignored by everybody? Doesn't a Republican who has actually been in the thick of it for decades deserving of some attention? Please help me understand. I think because you're always going to have the media give the attention to, well, first it would have been Cuomo, and then when the kind of socialist wing, Mamadani, took over, they're always going to get more attention. I do think it's interesting that Adams has gotten more of a conversation than Sliwa, because the polls show that he polls above Adams.
Yes.
So I can understand your frustration. It's just the kind of the nature of the media and also New York City politics, and it stinks, but that's where we're at. What do you think? Before I talk about another topic, I wanted to mention this because I saw the pictures and we brought it up on the air, and I know this is so important and near and dear to your heart, but the DMV employees receiving the Soaring Award from Donate Life. That was very nice.
That was very nice. That was the second year year in a row they won that. And it was nice that Commissioner Mark Schroeder from the DMV came down to attend that recognition. And I will tell Mark, I served in the assembly with him as a DMV commissioner. No one doing more for this issue than he is. He sets the tone, and it comes right down to Judy Hunter, who's the clerk, and then all the employees. The fact that they got that recognition is great. And I would tell them, they're saving lives. they asked the question to the person coming in to renew their license or renew their registration, do you want to sign up to be an organ donor? And
Right.
they're asking the question because the more, and I believe firmly, the more you ask the question, the more people will say yes. And yes, it's a very personal issue to me. I don't want to go through it all now, but yeah, people know my sister Teresa was a 2-time organ transplant recipient, first from the kindness of a stranger, and second in 2006, I had a privilege to donate a kidney to her. I just never realized how bad the numbers were till I went to Albany. Unfortunately, I lost my sister in 2013, but I still tell people she was lucky. She had 2 transplants.
Right.
Some never had 1. But we've made tremendous progress since 2011, but we have more work to do.
And also, you were the keynote speaker, right, at the 8th Annual Organ, Eye, and Tissue Donation Seminar.
Yeah, that was
What was that like?
That was good. They had asked me to come out there, and they knew this is obviously an issue that's important to me. So I was able to give a brief history, briefly talk about my sister Teresa a little bit more in that presentation, and our relationship, how she was diagnosed with juvenile diabetes at the age of 13, and how that really set the stage for how that impacted her body. But to talk about that, talk about the work we've done, talk about the people that I think have impacted this issue, like my former colleague Jim Conti, who was a 2-time kidney transplant recipient. Really, he was a leader in this situation. Talk about Lauren Shields, a 12-year-old brave little girl who had a heart transplant, then let her name and voice and vision to advocacy for this issue. That's how we have they call Lauren's Law. So when you go into the DMV and you have to answer the question, do you want to be an organ donor, yes, or skip the question, you have to answer that question. You don't have to say yes, but you have to say either yes or skip the question. That legislation is named after her. So people like her, even my colleague Crystal People-Stokes, so the majority leader, other side of the aisle, has done yeoman's work on this issue. Her daughter was a kidney transplant recipient. Her daughter passed away too. In the past 2 years, we've hosted a bipartisan rally in Albany, and we have Democrats and Republicans, senators and assembly members coming together for this issue. This transcends party lines. This is about saving lives, and to work with her on legislation and other issues. So there's a lot of people that I was able to talk about at that speech, and it's about saving lives. So please, if you're an organ donor already, great. If you're not, please consider joining.
A couple of quick things here from viewers. I got to take a break, though. Yeah, I'll find out more about those 7 windmills that got blown up in Madison, but I guess they'll probably end up replacing them. And in another 25 years of the windmill's lifetime, will there be exploding windmills all over the state around that same time? Good question. Ken wrote in about, okay, so the politicians being invested in for instance, green energy and things like that. What are your thoughts on that issue? Because there are a lot of people making a lot of money off of the green energy policies.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, in the state of New York, what for us, we have to do a financial disclosure plan and we have to list our investments. So like for example, I'm not in a lot of stocks, but I obviously I own Corning, so I have to list that I own Corning. Right. If I'm in an IRA or a mutual fund, I have to say what the name of the fund is so people can see that. So I think it's similar to Congress, but so there is something that lawmakers have to do for the listing of some of those things that people want it, and they're all available to the public. So yeah, I have no problem with making transparency and how you ban things like that. It depends on what the fund is in, because if it's part of a mutual fund, it's kind of hard to do that because you're not managing the fund. Maybe for individual stocks, you could probably look at doing something like that. But you got to have, the most important thing you need is transparency and disclosure now. And I think in Washington, it's a little different too. So we'll see.
All right, we got to take a break. Coming up next, the lightning round. Stay with us. We are back. Thank you to Boss Security for that amazing view. We're broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. In that studio, we have Assemblyman Phil Palmesano. Phil, everybody talks about it. What do you think? At least Stefanik. We're getting close to November now, I guess, at least. You think, what are you hearing? A lot of comments, a lot of press releases regarding what Hochul's doing. It's got to be, right?
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
She's certainly very vocal, very visual around the community, around the state. Which is a good thing. And certainly she's a well-known leader in New York State, especially among the Republican Party. I think the Democrats know her too. I mean, the job she did on Kathy Hochul at that hearing was phenomenal.
I still watch
the job she did on the university presidents last year regarding the anti-Semitism and protests going on in their school. She's phenomenal. So she will be a strong candidate for us. If I do wish she would have got in the race sooner, but it is what it is.
She is selling her house in Washington. That's interesting. I just read that there.
Yeah. So no, she's going to be very, very formidable. Because one, she's also raising. She has the ability to raise a lot of money, which we need to raise money for this race.
She's got name recognition.
She's got name recognition. I think she can even roll with federal dollars. So everywhere I go, people ask me, "Is she going to run? Is she going to run?" I think she will. I hope she does. If she doesn't, then it's a challenge. But yeah, I think she will. I think she knows that we need. We have such a tremendous opportunity to take back this governorship.
Yep.
It's been a long time. We haven't had a Republican governor since 2006 was the last year of George Pataki's term. The timing has been, the policies that they're implementing. I mean, think about under one party control that brought us the CLCPA, that brought us the Farm Labor Act, that brought us the bail, the discovery, all the criminal justice reforms, the massive prison closures, things like that. It's one thing after another. So we have an opportunity to take back this governorship and change the direction of the state for the better direction.
Mark writes in, Frank and Phil, great show today. Very informative. Have a great day. Well, thank you, Mark. Mark mentioned earlier on the program, he saw you at the Dwayne Eddy Memorial, the tribute, the dedication with the historic marker. Thank you so much for coming to that. That was wonderful. I know Deed, Dwayne's wife, loved the proclamation, and I thought it went well.
That was great. And really, to you, Frank, and to your committee of four, what tremendous work you guys did. And it was really an honor and privilege to be a small part of it, to present the resolution or the citation to her and her family. And what a turnout from the family, over 20 members. That was great, just to say, thank you. I had my Dwayne Eddy sticker on.
Yeah, you were ready.
I was the only one but that sign was beautiful.
Didn't it turn out great?
You're not going to miss it.
No.
You shouldn't miss it. So it was just great. But I just really wanted to say thank you for all your hard work and what you've done. And I think really what the mayor did,
perfect.
The key to the city, and then Dwayne Eddy Day. I mean, I thought it was phenomenal.
I thought, and we couldn't have had better weather.
No,
I thought we could have controlled that.
The weather, and we had a great turnout. The people came over. A lot of people from Corning came over, and then you had some other people kind of coming over and checking it out. I thought it was great.
People put it right around 200 people, which for an unveiling or ribbon cutting, that's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people, and I'm glad the media showed up to kind of give credit to Dwayne Eddy and what he meant to this community and what he still means to rock and roll.
And will always mean to rock and roll.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And then just really a credit to you again, to you and your committee. Great work. Thank you.
Comment from a different viewer. Thank you so much, Phil. Glad you're on our side. That's nice, isn't it? And okay, finally, we're going to end on this. Another positive note, Dwayne Eddy, to this. Tuesday, yesterday, we talked with our first group of kids from San Giovanni Valderno, Italy. I look forward to this every year. We're having them come in.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal.
They didn't have anything like that when I was in high school.
No, me neither.
We went to Darien Lake. That's always my joke. We did.
Yes, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
But no, I've been lucky. Usually every year the welcoming, I try to get there, and I think I've gotten to most of them, if not all of them. I remember taking my son there one time, and he was interviewed on the news. He goes, "We had cake and we had pasta." So. It's fun, but and it was fun watching the kids do the interviews on TV. I didn't want to be a part of that. That's their day. But I had, I was able to present a presentation, like a citation to them, and I kind of started it out that I thought we had three speakers. George Bakalis, did the one welcome. He's Greek.
Right.
Mayor Bowen, Ray Felizzo presented his presentation. He's Irish. And then Phil Palmesano, the Italian. So I thought that was
got the hero's welcome.
Yeah, that's right. So I wanted to make sure I clarified that. And of course, Bill Bowen, the next day I saw him at the Dwayne, and he goes, "That was a cheap shot, Phil." I'm just facts, Phil.
Just trying to get
There's
him
nothing wrong, just all facts. We're always about the facts here.
Yeah, and he's been such an important. We got to go, but I can't wait. I've got the second group, so they broke it up into two. So I get to hear him have him on the show to find out how it is at the beginning when they first got here, and then as it kind of winds down.
And what a great testament to this partnership, family collaboration between Corning and San Giovanni. What a great history.
I know. Phil, thanks for giving us so much time this morning, and let's do this again soon, okay?
Look forward to it.
All right, join us tomorrow morning with Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV, Big Fox.